professional and all that too. So I feel like Peyton kind of came out of nowhere with like, oh yeah, it turns out this guy's hilarious. Like, and he just, everyone loves his personality and his show with Eli and everything. But maybe,
I don't know. He was dancing around at Tennessee like in the mid '90s. There's video of him. He had both sides. He had the cerebral side, and he had fun.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Last thing, speaking of Tennessee here, Heupel said this at the Big Orange Caravan this week. I just wanted to get this in because the discourse this week and Tennessee's offense being under attack all NFL draft season long, Matt Green. Heupel said, quote, "Man, 10 years ago, I think there was a trickle-down effect from the NFL to college. I think it's the exact opposite in today's landscape. Over the last 3 cycles, or the last 3 drafts, we've had 5 wide receivers drafted. I've had more wide receivers drafted in the last 3 years than any other college coach. I think that speaks to what we're doing, how we're developing those guys understanding coverages, concepts, but also how to beat man coverage. That can be press, that can be off technique. That doesn't just happen by accident. I think what we do does translate in how those guys developed." Whoo! If that's not a recruiting selling point and just like the numbers speak for themselves, obviously teams aren't afraid of our offense. Teams aren't afraid of acclimating our guys to an NFL version of just high-octane offenses. Like, no one's concerned about Jalen adapting. No one's concerned about Cedric Tillman adapting. No one's concerned about insert name here adapting. Darnell Wright with his tempo and like different offense with different offensive structure. Because these guys are pros. These guys are the 1% of the 1% in terms of just athletic prowess in this country. They can adapt. They haven't been in Heupel's scheme forever. It's not like you have success in this one style and it's like, oh, you play only zone defense at Syracuse for 2 years. It's like, how does this 20-year-old who just soared and played really well in his zone defensive scheme, how does he make that adjustment when he gets to the league? It's like, he's really good and really smart and really athletic and really talented. People make adjustments and they do pull certain things from it. And I think
that's way different. There's no system like that in basketball that you can just like that it could completely changes the game. There's no triple option. There's no like spread. Like it's basketball. It's not really a comparable sport though from that perspective.
But also Demaryius Thomas, did it bother him in the NFL when he had
but he just got like bait and switched into like being at Tech.
Well,
like,
no, it doesn't matter. He
was just a freak athlete though.
But he played in that system. Stephen Hill went in the first round that year, the following year.
But he also shouldn't have, and he was terrible in the NFL.
But he did. What I'm saying is teams aren't afraid of going after these kids, and it's not like people who are throwing it like I think on the recruiting trail, it's just not going to add up because these guys are going in the first round. They're super talented, and it works.
But who's going in the first round?
I mean, what I'm saying in the early rounds, we'll see if anyone from this.
But you look at those potential. You look at those Baylor wide receivers, and obviously, like, this isn't Baylor. It's not the exact same, but, I mean, that's what everyone compares Heupel's offense to and the closest thing you can find to it. And it's like you had guys like Corey Coleman and Kendall Wright that put up, like, insane numbers in college and were even good combine numbers, and those are individuals. So because those guys weren't good NFL players doesn't mean Tennessee's receivers won't be. But there is some history of guys coming from offenses like that and showing out and putting up big numbers and not being actual NFL caliber players. So it's not a nothing. I feel like I'm a little disappointed that Heupel feels the need to respond to it. Like I didn't hear the audio, so like the hearing it kind of changes, like just seeing it a quote transcribed. But I mean, what do you really want Heupel to do? Like Heupel's job is to win games and put up huge numbers offensively, and like that's what he's doing. So if these guys aren't good in the NFL, okay, like that doesn't mean Heupel is like not preparing guys for the NFL. Like I think we try to draw conclusions all the time. It's like it's not really Heupel's job. Like it is his job to prepare guys for the NFL because that's what high school players want when they go to college. They want to go somewhere that develops them for the NFL. So to an extent, it is his job, but his number one job is to get the absolute most out of these guys at Tennessee. And so it's like, even if these guys aren't third, even if they're third, fourth rounders, like, kind of speaks more to how good Heupel is. That's like, we don't even have to have first round talent to have the best offense in college football. So imagine if we do get an actual first round quarterback, a first round wide receiver. Because, I mean, obviously Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman could be the two best receivers in this draft for all we know. You know, they could both be really good in the NFL, and Hendon Hooker could be really good in the NFL. But I don't know why Heupel feels the need to like defend himself, because I mean, we saw what Hendon Hooker was at Virginia Tech and what he was basically coming into Knoxville and what he is leaving Knoxville. And that guy looked pretty damn developed to me. That guy's a hell of a lot better than he was the day he stepped foot onto Tennessee's campus. So
I think he's just going to have to, because you're seeing it, like you saw draft people talk about it nonstop. I think he's just going to have to deal with this year over year. And this was also in the confines of just,
but I don't think you do, because
it's very conversational.
I think the results will speak for themselves. So I don't think he necessarily does. He's been there for 2 years. So it's like, this is like the first year that you can even really credit the people he's putting in the NFL. Like, I don't even know what Tennessee
doesn't get in the NFL. He goes in the third round after making the bump.
I mean, that's fine, but I'm just saying, like, those aren't guys Heupel recruited. Like, even these guys aren't really guys Heupel recruited, but whatever. He's been there 2 years now. There's more of a impact on Heupel's, whatever, his fingerprints.
Guy without him. Jalen
his
Hyatt,
fingerprints are much more on these guys than they were year one. Is all I mean. Like, these results mean more than just the year one results. But yeah, I don't think Heupel should feel the need to like defend his offense. Maybe after 5-6 years, if this is still a thing of like what have you ever heard Urban Meyer say anything about his quarterbacks not being good in the NFL? It's like, who cares? Like, I'm recruiting elite quarterbacks. Ryan Day, like we have elite level quarterbacks in college. We basically have the same production year in and year out. Even go back to Tim Tebow and Chris Leak, like, we always had good quarterback play, and none of these guys played in the NFL. Like, I'm a college football coach. Like, who the hell cares?
That's a good point, but it's also like, if Georgia fans keep doing this, where it's like that gimmicky offense doesn't stand. It's like, well, I mean, gimmicky offenses can win, and it's not gimmicky. It's just different, and it's just a different scheme. And I hate the word gimmicky, because I don't like that. It makes it's I think disrespectful to what they do, and it's like. It's not gimmicky. Like, the triple option's not gimmicky. It's just different. Like, it's a different scheme, and it's something that is not traditional. Because it's like, what even is a traditional NFL offense anymore? You look around the league, like what Patrick Mahomes is running. Like, no one's running I personnel. Like, that's not how it's working across the board. Like, the West Coast offense is not this thing you're just seeing. No one's under center anymore. Like, I don't even know what the NFL is. Like, RPO is everywhere. So I don't even know so much of what the college and the high school game has brought to the forefront. The NFL has adapted. I think that was another kind of point of emphasis here. It's like, I think teams are going to look at what Tennessee's doing in the NFL and be like, what can we pull from this to add to our offense? I think more of that.
And I think that's a good point. And that's why I feel like it speaks, like, not trying to throw shade at Heupel, but it speaks to some insecurity, I feel like, because if you're that confident, it's like, really the college game's what's affecting the pro game now. Like, pro teams are about to start sniping my assistants, like things like that. And then you're comfortable and like, no, this isn't gimmicky. And you're right. Like, gimmicky is definitely a negative connotation, but there is something to, like, as a Tennessee fan, I feel like you probably get defensive because you're like, it's not gimmicky. We have good players too. But if anything, I'd almost wear it like a badge of honor, that it's like, we don't even have to have the elite players and we're still going to average 50 points a game. Like, that's a pretty good way to feel as a fan of a team. Like, imagine how good you can be when you do get those players. So I don't know. I feel like Heupel, I understand where he's coming from and why Tennessee fans and people are kind of defensive because of the offense kind of seems under attack. But I mean, there is something different about it that no one else is doing. So from that, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like, non-traditional and instead of gimmicky? Like, it is different. Like, in terms of, the way they want to run a play every 7 seconds or whatever.
Unique. Let's say unique.
And Georgia fans, as long as they're shutting down that offense, they're going to continue to talk shit. So there's nothing you could really do about that. I mean, if Tennessee hangs 40 on Georgia next year, then, our gimmicky offense, if you're Tennessee, our gimmicky offense looked pretty good that time. So, I would just wear it, just own it. Like that's who we are. Like Texas Tech under Mike Leach, it's like everyone knew that that's not where you go to get the NFL quarterbacks, but year in and year out, they're putting up huge numbers, and the offense is really tough to stop. It's like what Tennessee doesn't need to be anything more than just putting up huge numbers with an offense that's tough to stop.
There you go. We'll leave it there. Matt Green, that's all I've got, sir.
Yeah, that was good stuff. I hate we didn't get to the Pac-12, but we'll have to say that for next week.
Maybe they'll have a TV deal to also talk about. Maybe we can do that too.
Yeah, I feel like the NFL draft. I feel like we were going to have a lot to say about that for sure.
I think we need to do that this week. So we'll hit the Pac-12 next week and all kinds of other stuff because there's some Colorado stuff that we'll probably.